Who here uses the NeurOptimal system? Raise your hand.
All of us.
I was practically always distracted in school. At lunch, I just ate and waited and walked around the playground. My brain was still fuzzy then. They had to switch me to another class. A lot of people thought I started off school late, but I didn't.
We had both seen him come home from school going into first grade as a very positive kid, and by the time we had our first meeting with our teacher, he was demoralized. We took a kid that went in here and came out here.
I definitely wanted to have a natural solution. I didn't want to have to medicate if I didn't have to medicate. So I read and read and read and read. And I came up with neurofeedback, and that looked like something that could really make a difference, that wasn't medicating, but instead helping a person to develop an internal kind of laser beam focus just by the virtue of the brain fixing itself. So we tried, and it was amazing.
It really helps a lot, definitely a lot.
The evidence was right in front of us. We saw the improvements in the grades. We saw the change.
He used to be bouncing off the walls, and then he is like Zen warrior. Like,
And when we had the boys, we started looking around Burbank for some martial art that we could get them into, just to teach them how to move their bodies and focus their mind. Without realizing it, the philosophy and the ideals and motion led us even closer to NeurOptimal. I think there's an interesting relationship between Kung Fu or martial arts and NeurOptimal. And with our Kung Fu, there's learning, and the only way to learn is to make the mistake, learn from the mistake. I think NeurOptimal is interesting because your brain sees the mistakes before you see them and corrects itself. Mistakes lead to success. I know when I did it and I took my black belt test, people said to me afterwards, that was the best we've ever seen you perform. The difference was noticeable. It was evident. And it was evident to people other than me.
for really as long as I can remember, I have had migraines. And then I also had sportsmanship issues, I'll say. Whenever I did not win or I failed at something, I would either cry or get really mad. And that does not mix well with acute migraines. At that point, acute migraines lasted for anywhere from 1 to 4 hours. And then from time to time, I would just pretend that it wasn't there during school. And those ones could last 8 hours. Before I did NeurOptimal, every time that I felt a migraine coming, I would get into a cold bath and I would start doing breathing exercises. It's a lot easier with NeurOptimal. I take maybe a 5-minute shower. It used to be that I had to be in a bath for an hour before I started feeling any change. I started feeling the difference pretty soon in because I didn't have migraines as frequently. I didn't have that anger spark inside that set it off. I used to get them 2 or 3 times a month. Now I get them 1 maybe every 6 months.
You know, the woman who invented the machine that you're using, she had migraines.
That feels nice. I'm not alone.
I started training the family and seeing that the changes were occurring across so many different things in our own family. I decided to kind of branch out and see what would happen if I brought in friends. And these different friends would come in with such far-ranged complaints, and everything was responding. Sensory processing disorder, anxiety, insomnia, depression, migraines, all these different things. The
Yeah.
results definitely drove the business. If I hadn't realized the enormous changes in myself, in my family, in all my friends, there is no way that I would bring this out to people. It doesn't matter what they come in with. Once that brain is given the tools to fix itself, it does. It works.
I just wanted to leave just a standard, sort of like saying, having sort of not only the best science project, but also one that helped people. One that ended up giving at least, like just the people that were part of it felt better by the end.
And he asked me if I would be willing to do NeurOptimal sessions on some of his friends to see whether doing NeurOptimal sessions could possibly enhance attention and focus.
My science teacher, he's like, "What is neurofeedback, Max?" The improvement was measured in reaction time and accuracy. And within the neurofeedback groups, the average increase time, I believe, was about 400 milliseconds. On the other hand, in the non-neurofeedback group, there was an increase, but it was about only half of what the neurofeedback group was. One of the things was, in the control group and the neurofeedback group, we actually had a pair of twins. The one in the neurofeedback group did increase almost twice as much as the one in the control group, and that kind of helped me to know that it wasn't just some people were responding better to neurofeedback.
Those kids who had just 5 sessions of NeurOptimal had over 27% on average improvement in this test of attention and focus.
And then at the end of the year, I got the award, Best Science Project Award, which basically said I was not only the best in the school, but best in the school's history. I wasn't really sure at the beginning if it would do anything. I had seen studies like classical music helps kids study and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure out of all the things that I could have chosen, this one helped the most.